Welcome to Obscure Epochs Revealed, the channel that brings history to life, from the battles of the Romans to the legends of the Vikings. Here we dive into myths, cultures, and forgotten stories, concise, thrilling, and full of facts. The night before battle, silence hung over the plains of Gaugamela. Tents flickered with torchlight. Horses stamped nervously in the dark. Above them, the moon, pale and eternal, began to fade. Then, slowly, it turned to blood. It was the autumn of 31 BC. Alexander of Macedon faced the vast Persian Empire of Darius III, a force many times his own. Yet it was not swords or spears that first shook the camp that night. It was the heavens. To the ancient mind, the sky was divine language. A blood-red moon meant the wrath of the gods, a sign of doom. And as the shadow swallowed the moon, fear spread like fire through the Macedonian ranks. Some whispered that the gods had abandoned Alexander. Others spoke of defeat, of curses, of omens that foretold death before dawn. The fate of empires, it seemed, hung not in strategy, but in the stars. In the ancient world, eclipses were more than astronomical events. They were messages, warnings, punishments, or blessings from divine powers. The moon belonged to the east, to Persia, the sun to the west, to Alexander and his rising empire. When the moon darkened, many believed it foretold the fall of the Eastern king. But among Alexander's soldiers, confusion reigned. Superstition could destroy an army before battle ever began. Alexander, master not only of war but of psychology, understood this. He summoned his priests and astrologers, men trained in Babylonian and Egyptian traditions, and ordered them to speak before the army. They proclaimed that the darkened moon represented Darius, soon to be swallowed by the brilliance of the Macedonian sun. What had been terror became prophecy. Fear turned to destiny, and the soldiers, once trembling, now believed the heavens favored their king. Dawn rose over the Mesopotamian plain, the moon's shadow was gone, and Alexander's men felt reborn. Across the field stretched the army of Darius III, tens of thousands of infantry, cavalry from every corner of the empire, and scythe chariots gleaming in the rising sun. Darius had chosen his ground carefully, wide and flat, perfect for his war machines. But Alexander, ever the tactician, saw opportunity where others saw danger. He angled his lines, drew the Persians outward, and waited for the smallest mistake. At the moment Darius's center weakened, Alexander struck, a thunderbolt of cavalry cutting straight toward the Persian king himself. Darius fled, his army broke, and centuries of Persian rule ended that day on the plains of Gaugamela. To Alexander's men, the prophecy was fulfilled. The moon of Persia had fallen. The sun of Macedon now ruled the world. The lunar eclipse became legend. Historians from Arrian to Plutarch wrote of it as a sign from the gods, proof that Alexander's rule was divinely chosen. To his soldiers, the event bound heaven and earth together in his favor. But behind the myth lay something far more human. Alexander had used belief, fear, and faith as tools of conquest. He understood that empires are not won by steel alone, but by stories, symbols, and the will to believe. By turning an omen of despair into a vision of destiny, he transformed a frightened army into the instrument of his greatest victory. It was not just a battle of swords, it was a battle of meaning. Modern astronomers confirm that on September 20th, 331 BC, a total lunar eclipse darkened the skies over Mesopotamia. Science, centuries later, proves what ancient eyes once feared. But in Alexander's age, that night became myth. He emerged from it not only as conqueror of Persia, but as a living symbol, the son of the sun, a man who commanded both armies and the cosmos itself. The story of the blood moon of Gaugamela endured through the centuries as a reminder that power often begins not with weapons, but with the mastery of belief. Under that red moon, the world shifted. An empire fell and another rose. What began as fear became faith, and faith became empire. The heavens had not changed their nature, only their interpretation had. And in that moment, Alexander proved that even the stars could serve his ambition. He read the sky not as a priest, but as a strategist, not as a dreamer, but as a man who knew that destiny favors the bold. In that blood-red night, history and myth became one. Perhaps next time you see the moon darken and turn to crimson, you'll remember the plains of Gaugamela and the man who turned fear into empire. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like, subscribe for more Obscure Epochs Revealed, and tell me in the comments. Do you think Alexander believed the omen, or did he simply know how to use it?